Veterans, welcome back to your Jetstream. 3 in a row where the Jets men's not the only ones that can string consecutive victories together. We're three, well, we'll call them a win, three episodes in 3 weeks, 4 if you count the AMA with Tane. So yeah, we're doing pretty well. We're getting a bit of a run on the board and another run of games for my fellow contributor Matt. Mate, welcome back. And how was your weekend?
Mate, I'm doing my best to make myself available. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you're getting
Week
consistent
weekend
minutes.
was weekend was pretty cruisy, I think.
Yeah.
Certainly nothing stood out. A lazy weekend's a good weekend. I did the lawns, so that's a bit of a step up. I broke my toes a month ago, so I haven't been able to do them for a while. So
Well, my
yeah.
lawn's like knee height if I don't mow it for a week. Like, how was yours after a month?
It wasn't too bad, only because we didn't get a great deal of rain in that time. But yeah, it got to the point where you had to go hunting for dog poo. So yeah, like it definitely needed having.
Oh, absolutely. Well, before we get into talking about the game that took place, I'll quickly get on to let everybody know what's happening with the website. Hopefully, people have noticed that the forums are back up and able to be logged into and all that sort of thing. We've had a couple of things in the back end that I needed to work on and get sorted before we look at upgrading the actual forum software. I wanted to make sure everything was nice and stable before I went and screwed around with things again. So yeah, if you haven't been on the website and on the forum specifically, most definitely jump on there. And seen a few people that I haven't seen logging on and posting comments. I've seen a few people pop up that haven't been there for a while, and it's good to have everybody back. But yeah, if you want to get on and chat shit about, and there's a lot of that on the forums, or even if you're just local football, like Matt mentioned last week, it's quite a very busy and well patronaged local football section. So all your your local competitions, there's threads galore about the different clubs and different divisions and all that sort of thing. So yeah, if you haven't been on and checked it out, definitely get on and check it out. And I will say that yes, hopefully in the next. I'm not going to say in the next couple of days because I'm working this weekend, but hopefully next week or the week after, I will be looking to upgrade upgrade that software to something better. So it's running a very old version of vBulletin. It's about 8 years old, and it's about time it got upgraded. And I'm going to a different program, but we're going to be able to import a bunch of stuff across. So yeah, get along to the newcastlefootball.net/forums, and obviously get the plug in early. Get along to the main page of the website as well. We're going to be looking to upgrade a few things in that in the next couple of weeks, hopefully as well. So yeah, watch this space. We'll let people know when there's news to let people know about on that front. Matt, you didn't get along to the game on the weekend, I'm assuming, but I did. And, mate, it was a great occasion. And it's good to see, first and foremost, that crowd was absolutely fantastic and the biggest crowd we've had since 2018. It was good to see the stands filled, even though it didn't look like it on the TV. Obviously, the cameras point at the Eastern Grandstand, which never gets heaps of people in it because of the sun. But definitely from somebody who got into the ground a couple of minutes late due to the lines outside, and for some reason they still didn't open extra gates. So there was, people trying to get in after kickoff. But there's been feedback given to the club about that. But leave that aside for one point. It was great to see a really good crowd and a really good atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I finished work and managed to get home before the first goal was scored this week. So
Yep.
that was that was a slight plus. Um, yeah, scheduling's killing me because I work Saturdays and
Yeah.
I work late Fridays and whatnot as well. But yeah, it is good to see that not just the crowds turning out to support, but the product on the pitch is worthy of people like parting with their cash to go in and see.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely something that I think the clubs needed to look like they were capitalizing on some on some good feeling around the place. There's been a lot of work going on in the background, but you need to have both of those things working in tandem to start, bringing all those people back. And we touched on it last week when we were talking about what crowd could we get. That a lot of people were waiting and seeing what was going on with this team, and it was gratifying to see that those people decided that they finished what they've waited long enough. It was time to go see them.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of goodwill around the team after the preseason sort of success,
Yeah.
and that really quickly evaporated after the run of poor results. Like it didn't help, losing to the Coasties sort of first game.
No,
So
no.
um, now that we've been able to, not just string successive wins together, but club high, 5 game winning streak. What are we? We 7 from 8 at the moment, or 8 from 9, or something like at the moment. Like
Yeah, I think we're undefeated since New Year's Day. Since the game against MacArthur.
MacArthur, yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, before that, we had a win the week before that. Did we win 2 weeks before that? I can't even remember now. It's going, but it's tough when you're trying to, remember two Jets losses.
Yeah, so the
Um,
the last loss was the 26th of December. So we've had one, two, three, four, five wins since then. There was 2 wins before that MacArthur game, which was the 2-0 win over Sydney and the 3-1 away win at Wellington. And before that, we lost 1-0 away at Melbourne City.
so 7 from 8.
Yep.
You know, it's a pretty good run of form, and if that doesn't sort of justify that, the team isn't just a flash in the pan and they can do it on again, off again, I'm not really sure, what will. So, no, it's yeah, everything is building in the right direction. Let's put it that way.
What's going to be interesting, one of the interesting things is going to be if we do. Obviously, we've got 2 away games that we'll talk about. We'll talk about one of them, obviously, after we talk about the after we
Because we'll be
review the
here next
Brisbane.
week.
Well, yeah, well, fingers, yes, we will be here next week. We've got 2 away games, so we've got this week against Adelaide and the following week against Perth. Both of them games we traditionally struggle in. If we lose those 2, how much does it affect the momentum behind this team and the momentum behind the people coming back to the games? It was something that I put up. I was quite busy on the socials on the Saturday, posting on X and posting some things on across Meta it was giving the guys working behind the scenes their flowers, but also saying, what also holding in the back of my mind, what can we do to ensure that this is the start of something and not just another peak before a trough? How can we sustain this? How can we set a dynasty in motion? What are your thoughts behind that? I mean,
Um,
obviously, in a truncated 2-minute summation, we could probably do an entire bloody podcast on it. But yeah, what are your quick thoughts on trying to make that make a crowd increase a sustained thing rather than just we won a couple of games, people rock up, we lose a couple, people go away again.
well, and this is it. We're still, like, even if we are talking over 8 games, we're still talking a fairly, you know, short sample size when you
Yeah,
consider how long the Jets have been around and how long it's actually taken us to have like real sort of success in the competition. Um, as far as what we can do, I think that promotions like having kids under 14 free with a paying adult, or two kids under 14 free with a paying adult, are going
under
to go a long way, because that
yeah,
will build the next generation of supporters. Um, I think that the other part of it's going to come down to squad retention, and I'm sure we'll touch on this later in the episode as well.
yeah,
But seeing, some of these guys, some of these fans are getting invested with certain players, that we've got, that are playing really, really well at the moment, and it to have news that they would be, moving away or leaving at the end of the season or whatever the case may be, transfer fee, even if it is for a transfer fee, is probably going to be a determining factor as far as whether they turn up and buy tickets for the next week. So, um, continuing the momentum, locking in our performing players to long-term contracts, which is all of them at the moment. Yeah, I think it's going to be a critical in making sure that the membership grows and that we continue to week in, week out have this crowd growing.
Yeah. One of the most pertinent, or one of the best comments I think I saw, there was a lot of people bitching about, oh, where have these people been? Why are they only coming back now? And all that sort of thing. And one of the responses I saw, I think it might have been on Facebook, and I can't remember if it was on our socials or it was someone else's socials, but someone said, don't worry about where people have been. Give them a reason to come back or give them a reason to
Mhm.
stay. And that I think is probably the strategy that the Jets, and especially the Jets supporters, need to, you know, grasp with both hands. Like, yes, you've managed to stick around. We're the sad tragics that have stuck with this club through thick and thin. Don't begrudge people that, and there were plenty of people that were rusted on supporters in the early years that just got burned too many times and walked away. Some of those are starting to come back. Some other people haven't. Some people are just only discovering the Jets for the first time. But that was the most pertinent comment I think I saw was, don't ask where people have been, ask them what, or work on getting them, giving them a reason to return. They've got to keep coming back to the games. And even it doesn't have to be a 12,000 every week, and that's obviously going to be unrealistic when there's momentum behind the team. That's great. That's great for, crowds, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens when maybe we get a couple of bad results or we don't, the run of wins comes to an end, whether how much that affects the crowd, because we're still playing the same football. I don't think we're going to be changing the way we play. So, is it the football that's causing these people to come back? Is it the positive atmosphere around the club with all the work that Maverick and Tane and everyone else has been doing behind the scenes? Or is it purely down to results on the pitch? That's what brings the people back.
I think one big thing that'll keep them coming back is goals.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we are, by far and away, like, what are we, 12 goals ahead
Mm.
of the next close, oh, 10 goals. Like, no, Adelaide have scored 24. So, um, we're by far and away the most attacking team, which is something that, even if it is a 5-4 loss, I think that there's that excitement factor there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, uh, as long as we can keep the mantle going that we're the box office Jets, I'm pretty sure that will also assist in, getting people to at least come. Like, even if they're, football neutrals, like if the Australian sporting public like to see excitement in the game. Like, they don't necessarily appreciate everything that goes into a 1-1 draw. But a 5-4 loss for a lot of people, I think is going to be a lot more exciting and a lot more attractive than a 1-1 draw or a 1-0 win.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, the league is very tight. There's a loss and a win, or a couple of draws can make the table change position all over the shop. So look, it's definitely going to be exciting. I did hear on the commentary that it's they were talking up the Jets' chances of. Someone put up an article about, can the Jets win the treble this year? I think that's possibly going a little bit overboard, but it would definitely be.
Technically, they can.
Well, yeah, technically they can. Uh, obviously with the Australia Cup victory, that's won already. But winning, I would just be happy finishing in the top four and making a decent run in the finals. But we haven't won the premiership yet. That's the only trophy in the Australian competition we haven't won yet. And we've had a very lean history. It would be nice to be challenging for that while we've got the players that we have. So there's no reason why we couldn't. I mean, obviously this is a very young team, but there's no reason we couldn't be making a run at the premiership, especially with how often teams below us and around us like to throw away games. So if we can sort of, capitalize and just steady as she goes and try and ride the wave, there's no reason why we wouldn't be up there come. And even if we miss out, we're still finishing very high on the table, which is something a lot of people would not have even dreamt of at the beginning of the season, even with the Australia Cup victory.
Yeah. Look, I think that what is almost still in our favour, because I still think that the Jets play better as and with an underdog tag rather than being the front runners is that Sydney's got that game in hand. They play twice in the next 10 days or so.
Yep.
Um, and like if Sydney win both their matches, then they're going to be ahead. If they win the one game that they've got in hand, then yeah, they're ahead on points. And if they win both, then it really puts the pressure back on the Jets. And I'm pretty sure that from a squad perspective, that we would almost rather be sitting in second than being the outright leaders. It's just going to keep driving this young squad to continue to improve, to try and do things better. Yeah, I feel like the turning point for us was that first Auckland game away,
Yep.
where everyone just seems to have been like so much hungrier and so much more desperate on the ball. And as a bit of a lead in Ferns, like I think that's probably why the physical approach that Brisbane took, in the game that we've just seen, it didn't really rattle the cages like it did earlier in the season.
Yeah, well, we'll get on to that game now, and that was the one thing I sort of picked out watching them. There was a bit of niggle going on a lot going on off the on and off the ball, but it was more isolated incidents rather than a concerted effort. I was very surprised about Brisbane's. I wouldn't say lethargy, but they were definitely not at the races, especially for that first half. For the first 25, 30 minutes until Jay O'Shea went off with his injury, we were all over them. Like it was probably two, maybe three occasions where Brisbane got into our final third, whereas we were all, most of the action was in the middle and down the Brisbane end of the pitch.
Can't disagree with like your summation at all. We've been regularly quick out of the blocks. Like we've regularly scored in the first sort of 15 minutes. And we've been the team that hasn't necessarily put the pressure on the other team, but at least like put it in front of them. They've got the mountain to climb. I think over the last 6 or 7 weeks that we've really sort of learnt how to ramp up that pressure and learnt how to defend, and without necessarily taking away from the attacking edge that the squad's got. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like, things are progressing really, really nicely. And, with the age of the squad and the fitness of the squad, and I know we've had a couple of really unfortunate sort of long-term injuries, things are progressing, really nicely. I think you could bring anyone from the squad in as a substitute and they'd play well, just purely based on how the team's going, which isn't it's not a position that we've been in for the last sort of 7 or 8 years.
You've basically stolen my next point. I was perusing once I got the forums back up and running. There was quite a bit of posting going on in the game in the game thread. I noticed Stat Steady Dave popped up a post. Top of the league, woohoo! He did say he kind of thinks the Grozos injury has helped the team. We move it much faster with Burgess holding, and the move has been great for Burgess too. Every player working their socks off. He's got confidence that any player who comes off the bench can keep it going. Shame that the boys with the ACL injuries aren't involved, but that's basically the exact same thing of what you said. We seem to have a really good level, even with even younger players coming off the bench. They're able to. Everybody knows their jobs. They're coming on. They're doing the same jobs at a similar level. We're not getting a massive drop off when we substitute and bring on players. We're keeping the intensity, and we're keeping the work rate and the game plan up.
Yeah, and I think you put that down to two different things. You put it down to number one, confidence, and number two, training. Just because they're on the bench doesn't mean they're not training week in, week out with the guys that are starting. And confidence is like a hell of a drug. They're coming into a team that is now sitting at the top of the table. They're going to be top of the table players. If we were battling it out for 10th or ninth or 10th or whatever, which we've been in past seasons, and they're
Yeah.
probably going to feel that they're only worthy of playing like a squad member in a ninth or 10th place team. So it's amazing what Millsy has been able to do after that sort of run of what 4 losses on the trot. Like
Yeah.
we were 1-5, I think. And at that stage, like, and I'll hang my head that I thought that it was going to be a really, really tough ask. In one of the pods, I said I think it's going to be a really tough ask over the next couple of weeks to get these guys back up. And then we went to Auckland and we won. Yeah, it's great turnaround. Very little has changed other than like we didn't bring a player in that's that real dog on the ball. The whole squad just really, really started to fight for, possession in those one-on-one battles, and we didn't necessarily do it physically. We did it technically, like
Yeah.
the short passes, the turns, like no one gives the ball away, and if they do, they're all back to, cover a mistake. We're not getting caught out with, 2 versus 5 at the back,
Yep.
on a
Yep.
quick break. Like the fullbacks are, not not playing more defensive roles, but they're just more aware of that defensive responsibility that if there is a turnover, they've got to run their guts out just as quickly as what they would if there was the opportunity to get onto the ball and cross. And like Daniel Wilmering and Bertolicio, like I think have been outstanding over the last 6 weeks,
Yep.
8 weeks. Um, the fact that we've got a slightly more settled, centre back combination. But in saying that, we've gone from Cooper and Sushnia to Natter and Shaughnessy. But there's just been gradual changes. It hasn't really affected the squad. And what you mentioned earlier, as far as with Burgess, like we've seen how good Burgess is on the ball in an attacking sense, but that's really translated into how good he is at just playing the ball out. Like when he's picking it up in our half or on halfway, like he's finding those forward passes just to keep the momentum rolling. So no, it's been brilliant.
And it's not just him. Is obviously we've also had Dobson and Bayliss in beside him, so he's not doing the whole. It's not all the defensive work's not on him. But it was also something that I noticed during commentary. McBreen was talking about the tweaks that Millsy's done to fix the defence. One of the stats that I was interested to sort of see when the turnaround was, which was obviously that standout game against the Bulls where we lost 5-4. Our first 10 games we conceded 22 goals, and we were going, well, this defense isn't working. Why do we keep conceding so many goals? Since then, since the 1st of January, we've conceded 4 goals in 5 games. That's been the big turnaround, and getting we're still scoring at a similar rate. Maybe, in some games we're winning games 4-1 now as opposed to 1-0 or 2-1, or losing games for that matter. But it's not just the goals we're scoring, we're conceding less. And it was something McBreen highlighted during the coverage, was the distances and the spaces between the lines, tweaking them around and making sure we weren't too compressed, because I think the big problem was we maybe we were pressing so high that it didn't take much for a turnover to result in a ball through or a ball over, and then our like you said, our centre backs get caught out with a 3v2 or 4-on-2 or 4-on-3 depending on what the movement was, and then that was when we were conceding goals through turnovers and not having enough people to be able to recover quick enough to be able to get back and do the defensive work. And that's been the big turnaround we've seen since Jan. It's obviously those away wins that we had over in New Zealand was sort of one of those, was sort of when you started to see those fruits coming through. It obviously, we've had a couple of games where that hasn't quite worked out, and obviously the Bulls game is the big one. But like I said, it's been achieving that, getting those tweaks right, and achieving that consistency since the beginning of the year, that we've seen we've seen that goal concession dropping way back. It was above obviously 2 goals a game we were conceding, and now it's less than 1.
Yeah, well, 14 goals for and 4 against. Like that's case in point, I guess, to
Yeah,
what you're saying. The Bulls game was very, very open, and it was the first game. Oh, actually, no, we played Sydney. We beat Sydney the week before.
Yep.
Um, but maybe it was a case of overconfidence, and it was a bit of a grounding for the guys. Also to score, like to have a goal in acrimonious circumstances, scored in injury time, which like I'm still a bit dirty about that one. We don't need to revisit it, but
Yep.
um, I don't think that goal necessarily should have stood, but it was probably a really good wake up call for the team anyway. So yeah, it's we've taken a really talented squad of attacking and technical players and actually taught them to defend, which is normally harder than doing it the other way around. We don't have that dog in midfield now. Everyone's a dog when they've when it comes to the one-on-one, and I think we saw that on the weekend when it was like I can't remember who the Raw player was, but someone had a go at Lockie Bayliss and he stood straight back up and just and gave it back to him and quickly. Like Lockie Bayliss is in career best form, or at least Jet's best form. Like at the moment, he's been brilliant over the last couple of weeks. Like when
That
he
was
came into the team in, was it 21 or 22?
22, I think.
22. I thought that possibly he might have been a slightly better player than Clayton Taylor. Like as far as showing more in the early stages, and as far as goals and involvement and whatnot. And Taylor's obviously really really gone on, and a lot of that's because he didn't have the injuries that Bayliss did. But over the last couple of weeks, we're getting so much output out of that guy. It's fantastic, and I'm not sure if he wasn't coming into the culture and the mentality and the
Drink boats.
the fact that we're constantly drink pods, the fact that we're constantly winning, like whether that would have necessarily been the case. But he's really really pushing for a World Cup spot at the moment.
Yep, for New Zealand, most definitely. That player you were thinking of was Mayoroni, and that wasn't the first time he'd gotten involved in a bit of a tussle. Him and Lawton, the guy with the afro that came on, and I think maybe Ruse might have had a bit of a niggle at a few people as well. But like I said, there was going back to the game, like talking about that. The Brisbane did a couple of individual players were sort of being not tetchy, but just putting in a couple of chucking the foot in when a player kicked the ball away, and that was a reason why Long ended up getting sent off towards the end of the game, because he'd done that. He'd done that. I think to get the initial yellow card, or maybe it was kicking the ball away. I'm not quite sure, but they were doing a lot of that. There was a moment in the first half where the ball we ended up getting the throw in, but the Brisbane Raw players put the toe into the ball after the ball was dead and kicked the ball away, and they did the same thing with a bunch of different times and a few different circumstances with just being dicks.
What
Like
about the time wasting in the
yeah,
first half?
and that's what it was. It was that was how I was trying to marshal my thought. Yeah, it was, and it was mentioned in commentary as well. Was that we sort of really like to capitalize on keeping the game flowing and making things move quickly, and it was a definite tactic of Brisbane that they were definitely trying to slow that down so that they could get themselves set defensively by doing that sort of stuff, like leaving a little bit extra in the tackle occasionally when where they were struggling to get it back in numbers, so that the play was on the ground for a couple of extra seconds, or kicking the ball away when it was our throw in or a set piece. All those sorts of things were some things that they do on top of really hard tackling and pressing in your face and all that stuff that they usually do, that they weren't doing so much in this game. But there was still hallmarks of that throughout the game, that just they weren't as in your face about it as I was worried about. Well, obviously we were talking last week about the Valkanis factor and how Brisbane have been playing. That was the main thing we were worried about. Well, we didn't really see it in this game to that extent.
I've got the feeling that if we had reacted the same way that we did in
We'd
the
have
last
lost.
game that we played, that we would have seen more of it.
Yep.
But um,
Or we'd have
however
lost.
many weeks that was ago, that was November the 9th that we
Yep.
played them. We lost up there 3-0.
Yep.
So you're talking, what's that? 4 months? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, 12 games or something. 12 games doesn't seem like a lot, but when you've got a lot of players that have played like less than 10 A-League games, you're doubling their experience, and you're allowing, I guess, the training regime to kick in. You're allowing experience to kick in. It didn't phase them. Like
No.
they knew what was happening. They were probably expecting what happened to happen, and they didn't fall into Brisbane's hands like they did sort of earlier in the season. So yeah, it's case in point, I guess, as far as why you need to keep training intensity high, like as high if not higher than how you're playing, and that bringing young players through that are the clean slate that are easier to teach is going to bear fruit.
Yeah, definitely. Righto. So we may as well hit play on the highlights package and talk through the goals and a couple of the misses and all that sort of thing. So I'm just going to silence my tablet, which I didn't, which was a bit weird. But uh, obviously there was a couple of uh, the goal comes up in the 16th minute, but there was a couple of chances before then. Like I said, Brisbane did go down once, go down into our box once, I think, and skied an effort, and we had a couple of opportunities, but didn't really come to anything. But it was really good work from Dobson. Ball, sort of a lofted ball into the box that Clayton Taylor was able to get his foot to, and Brazanis has come out and clattered into the player, and it was a pretty stonewall penalty. I have no idea why the VAR had to check it, but it was definitely it was definitely a something that wasn't going to be overturned. And Lockie Rose steps up and puts the ball away.
Yeah, slightly fortuitous, I think, with the deflection, because it did come off a Brisbane defender and skied into the ball,
Yep.
into the air. Um, and yeah, interesting to sort of see that. I guess Lockie Rose was the one that sort of stepped up this time to take the pen rather than Eli. Eli, if I'm not mistaken, that we had a penalty shout or opportunity earlier in the season at the same end, and Eli basically grabbed the ball and said that he was taking it and didn't score.
Yep.
Um, and given his run of form and uh, something that the commentary certainly harped on was Rose's inability to score at home. That was good. Yeah, all in, it was like clinical, like sent the keeper the wrong way, and great touch from Taylor, just to take it just past the keeper and draw the contact. But it just seemed like clockwork. Like it wasn't a fluke that it went in. It wasn't there was no sort of discussion about who was going to take the free kick. Like, we've got a striker that's in form. We've got attacking midfielders that are just very technical and very, very good on the ball. And yeah, and like as soon as you sort of saw the ball go up in the air and then Taylor take it on his knee, it was done. Like, I wasn't even worried about who took the penalty. I don't think at that point. Yeah, you just sort of expected. Yeah, it's 15 minutes in, Jets going to score.
I think the reason why Lockie ended up taking that was because that was his first goal at home. I think that was the first goal he scored that was in front of our crowd. I think all the rest of them were away from home. I think I remember that from the commentary, but yeah, it's he's in a good run of form, and if he can start adding more home goals to his away goals and spreading the load across the team even more, then that's only gonna do well for us.
Oh, absolutely. I think the reason he's probably so successful away from home is that teams are prepared to play that slightly higher line and try and press us, and that's all his game is trying to get in behind. Obviously when they come here, they're expecting that we're going to attack, and um, the confidence is definitely there. Like it wasn't like a you almost saved it, or like you got hands to it and wasn't able to push it wide. Like that was a very very confident penalty. There's not very often like in recent years where we've had a pen and I've thought like maybe other than Becker from a few years back, like
Yep.
um there hasn't been many years where I've had that much confidence in a penalty taker. And yeah, when Lucky placed the ball, I'm like, yep, this is going in, this will be brilliant, and I got to see it.
So the next goal, well, the next opportunity was 30th minute, was a great little ball with Burgess getting the ball outside the 18-yard box and seeing a nice run from Will Dobson. I really don't know what Brisbane's defence was doing here, because there's like five of them all clustered on the right hand side of the goal, or the left hand side of the goal from our perspective, but. They had nobodies. They weren't spread out. They were all bunched up, and it was a simple matter of a nice overlap. Dobson was able to get across. Two of the players did come across and try to screen him. He just dummied it, put it inside, and was really unlucky that Buzanis was able to get a knee to the ball, because he just needed to loft it a tiny bit more, and that would have gone in. But it's just unlucky he wasn't able to score. It was really good work from him.
I think it's just the speed of the play, to be honest. Like it got to the point where, Brisbane were in scramble mode and trying to get back. So, when you're doing that as a defender, you 90% of your focus is probably on the ball. So all of them were running to do the same thing, which, like I said, there were 4 or 5 of them. So all of them ran to try and cut off the shot rather than, necessarily, block spaces or find their men, etc. And yeah, it was very very unlucky. Like that, Bazana's got his shin there. He's still one of the better keepers in the league. But yeah, like, very very close for it to be 2-0.
And we were very unlucky, or Elo was very unlucky in the first half stoppage time not to put a free kick into the. It was a fair way out and a fair way across on the, just on basically sort of in line with the edge of the 18-yard box. But he had another what are those? Uh, how wide do you reckon those stripes in the grass are? I reckon it's probably another maybe 8 to 10 meters.
Oh, it definitely wasn't an angle where I expected him to take the strike. That's for sure. So
It was
when
it was interesting because there were three of them around the ball. I think Burgess and Dobson and Eli were all talking about it, and then Eli got sent away, and then Dobson and Burgess had a bit of a chat, and then Eli came back, and then Burgess went away, and then Eli took the shot, and it was so close to a thunderblast that it was ridiculous. Like the ball just ricocheted off the top of the goal. It would have been another absolute perler of a goal and goal of the season contender, but yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Just that tiny bit too high.
I was close, certainly, put Brisbane on notice as well. I think that if they make fouls, anywhere, within 25, 30 yards of, their goal, that, there's a real possibility that we're going to score. Like, and it hasn't been a fluke. Like the first one that he scored, you could maybe put down to a fluke. The second one that he put away after the Dobson backheel was just brilliant. That one, if had it gone in, like, and it went very, very close, like we're talking 10 centimeters for
Yeah.
it to, ricochet off the bottom and go in. Yeah, how do I put this? Like, as a Brisbane defender, you would certainly have to be second guessing whether going in physical and over the top was going to be the right move.
And when Eli goes off, you've got Coda coming on, and his set pieces aren't anything to sneeze at either.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so yeah, the game ended. Oh, sorry, the half ended 1-0. Obviously, the Jets are 1-0 up. Getting into the second half, and just waiting for this to cycle through and get to the next bit. They've definitely replayed that replayed that Eli one about 3 times. Right. So, yeah, nice little ball through down the right hand wing from Bertolicio with Eli getting onto the end of the ball, pass across in front of everybody, and Clayton Taylor puts a ball away into an empty net, and there she is, 2-0 on the 51st minute.
That was the absolute definition of a FIFA goal. If ever anyone else has, regularly played FIFA in the early years, where the through balls across the park were just the easiest way to score because the keeper would always come out and miss it. But no, that was inch perfect. I thought, when it initially ran past Lucky Rose, that it might have been overhit and we'd squandered the chance, but not at all. Like not when you've got the front three that we do, like Adams, Rose, and Taylor. He was like Johnny on the spot and just absolutely banged it in. Even if he did pay for it slightly afterwards with the
Yeah,
celebrations.
I was going to say, Eli doesn't use his head all that often, so why did he start using it during a bloody goal celebration?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably why he doesn't use his head very often going for the ball, because he obviously mistimed this challenge.
Yeah, it's I no one we couldn't work out in the ground like why he went off to the side and he got some blood on him, and I don't know if they might have replayed it on. I think they actually did replay it in the ground, but I might have been typing at the time. But because I'm looking at the game and then doing live tweeting as I'm watching the game if I'm in the ground at the time. So I didn't actually see what had actually happened to him until I watched the match replay today. And yeah, it was he just went in that tiny bit too hard. Like if it was just a nudge, it would have been fine. But he didn't pull out in time. His heading technique was all wrong on that occasion.
Oh, he was trying to put it in the back of the net. Uh, what else can you say? He's, like you've made me look really good. I missed the pass to Rose, and you were Johnny on the spot, and yeah, blasted. Like, and it was when that went in. Like, as much as I thought, oh, we've missed the chance. Oh, we scored. I was also like, oh, this is just Jets this year.
Yeah.
Like, when we only need half a chance, we need like 0.25 xg, and we'll put the ball in the back of the net.
So your episode title for this week is going to be Elo's heading technique needs work. So your next goal that went in was one of those situations where I don't know, were we unlucky or did we fall asleep a little bit? Set piece a long way out into the box, and Dimitri Valkanis gets his head onto it first time and manages to get it around desperately diving Delianov, who couldn't stop it from going into the goal.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like when you see it was Rose that was his nearest marker, and whether that's who you actually want to be marking someone on a defensive set piece. Like Natter had gone further inside, Wilmering had sort of hung out. Maybe a little bit of miscommunication, maybe like they, relaxed a little bit, which we were certainly guilty of earlier in the season. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that would be something that would be addressed over the last week or so, by Millsy and the rest of the team.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, 2-1 at that point, but it didn't look like our heads went down at all, because only a couple of minutes later we were able to restore that 2-goal cushion with a little bit of crap clearance from Bizanis, which didn't really have his best game. They definitely put the Raz into him on the player rating index on FOTMob. I think he got a 4.5 rated player rating in this game. But Lockie Bayliss gets a goal. Gets another goal, we had players up, we hadn't dropped back, Taylor, Rose, Bayliss, and the ball just ball just dribbles past Paul Bazanis, and not much he could do about it, except
Oh, it
maybe
was,
clear the ball away properly in the first place.
eh, well, yeah, he could have hit it to the halfway line instead of trying to hit someone 30 meters out with, four Jets defenders. I guess you've got to call them defenders, because even the front three are defending at this stage. Good interception from Bayliss. it was really well worked. It was really reminded me, like especially the finish of Adams's goal,
Yep.
from a couple of weeks ago, where he just seemed to lunge at the ball, got enough of a connection and just steered it past the keeper.
Yeah. And so 2 goals in 2 games for Lockie, definitely putting his hand up, like you mentioned, for the All White squad. But yeah, we ended up getting a man advantage in the 89th minute when Long came. It was a stupid attempt. Like, why would you do that? Just yeah, absolutely takes the legs out of Clayton Taylor after he'd passed the ball away, and he gets his second yellow, and off he goes.
I don't think there's even nailed on Brisbane supporters that are necessarily thinking that that shouldn't have been a second yellow. Like it was by that stage, the game had sort of had gotten away from him.
Yeah, frustration.
It was frustration. Yeah, they weren't going to win. He was trying to do whatever he could, and he just threw himself at the ball and ended up taking out Wilmering. And it, it really wasn't. Wilmering really wasn't in a
Taylor.
dangerous position. It wasn't like it was a breakaway. It wasn't like they didn't have players back. He just had enough that he'd been, you know, chasing shadows for 89 minutes before that, and yeah, we capitalized. What
Yeah,
can you say?
pretty sure it was Taylor, not Wilmering.
Oh no, it was Wilmering that he took out, I
Was it
think.
the first time? I'm
Uh,
pretty sure it was Taylor.
oh, in the first half, you're talking?
Yeah, no, I was
Oh no,
talking
it
about
was
the
Taylor.
second
No,
one.
it was Taylor. Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
headband. Yep,
yep, yep.
yep.
So yeah, he gets marched, and then yeah, not to be not content with scoring 2 goals in 2 games. So Lockie gets a second goal in the same game, and yeah, another
And
a poor clearance and turnover, but some really good work in the box that he was able to fashion the space to be able to curl the ball in.
mate, he's found his calling, hasn't he? He
Yeah,
misplaces a pass, gets the ball back, and then scores. Like he's done that. He did that last week after 20 odd seconds. He's done it again just then. Like the short corner routine did not work how they were planning it. It
no,
was, I think he'll put his hand up to say, yeah, that wasn't the plan. But the ricochet going out to Burgess, and Burgess putting a fairly good effort on goal.
yep.
But the parry just falling straight to Bayless, and that confidence that he's got now to skip inside and just blast, like, yep, went well.
So yeah, the another stat that Dave put up in the forums after this match was we've got 8 players with 3 or more goals in the league. Lockie's obviously got 7. Adams, Taylor, Bertoncello, Battalato all have 4. Bayliss, Gibson, and Dobson have 3. So we're definitely spreading the goals scored across a wide range of players. The previous record was out of people, if anyone was interested, was the 17-18 season. 7 players with 3 or more goals. Hoffy got 6, Canner got 5, Petratos 10, O'Donovan 9, Naboo 10, Champness 5, McGree 5.
I'm sure O'Donovan would have got more if he wasn't suspended
Yeah, for half a
for
season,
all
wasn't it?
half the season.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
uh, yeah, but no, it's confidence. I think
yeah.
like they're confident to take it on. They're not like just blasting the ball from 30 yards out, sending them into Rosed, like we've seen sort of with other Jets teams in the past.
Zadkovich.
Now, like, well, hey, I'm not naming names,
No, I'm not
um,
either.
but if they're in a decent position to shoot, they're taking it on, and quite often just because of the pressure that we're building, and the field position that we are, you know, re- regaining the ball in, like they're good efforts. Bertoncello coming on and scoring, like he has almost gained that super sub mantle that Dr. Emma loves to sort of throw around.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's great to see. But Dobson should have probably had 6 instead of 3, but it's what's good with Dobson is he's putting himself in that position where he is like getting into goal scoring opportunities so often for a young player who, and young players tend to drift in and out of the game quite often. Like he's always in the thick of it. It's over the last couple of weeks since Costa's been out, we've really seen that, Bayliss has stepped up and found that bit of form. Taylor's in form. Adams is in form. Like we've already spoken about, Lockie Rose, other than at home, like he's an absolute pest. Like, if he wasn't playing Forest, I would hate Forest. I would hate the guy. Um, but yeah, you
And
love having a player like that on your team.
yeah, and we did when he played for MacArthur. So just quickly the subs. So Mizunuma came on in the 75th minute. Cicluna, Gibson, they came on in the 83rd, and then Bertoncello come on in the 90th. Any words of note for them apart from what we said earlier? Just that they come on and continued the same work rate and the same game plan pretty much.
Yeah, like I mean, none of them stood out, but not in a bad way. It was
Yeah,
just that the rest of the team had already done their job. It was just more now of a case of sort of running the game out. Yeah, probably the only thing that I noticed was that when Coda came on, we did certainly lose a little bit of pace. And whether or not he is necessarily still suited to playing out wide with the style of play that we play, or whether he might need to be deployed a little bit more centrally where he can just get his foot on it. But it's funny, isn't it? Like when
mm,
we're 3 goals up or 2 goals up, you bring on Coda. We're still not looking to put our foot on the ball and slow the tempo down. It's still
keep it
like
going.
we're still on the shoulder of the defense, and we're still like pushing to get a fourth or a fifth. It's certainly not a bad thing. That's for sure.
Yeah. Just to quickly cover off the stats, as I'm reading them off FOTMob. 63% possession to 37. XG was 2.75 to 0.56. 18 shots to 8 in total. 7 shots on target to 3. 4 big chances to 0. Accurate pass accuracy, 83% versus 73%. 407 passes to 210. 12 fouls committed each. 5 corners. So yeah, 18 shots to 8, 8 off target to 3, 7 on target to 3. So yeah, and shots inside the box, 13 to 5, shots outside the box 5 to 3. So yeah, really some really good stats there for the team. Just having a look at the player ratings that they gave them, nobody below a 7. The lowest score was a 7, which is still really high, and that was for Natta. Across the back line were basically 7s. Bertolicio 7.5, Shaughnessy 7.1, Natta 7.0, Wilmering 7.1. Burgess 7.8, and then really high across the front line. So 9.1 for Adams, had the highest rating. Dobson 7.4, Bayliss 9.0, Taylor 8.4, Rose 8.5. The man of the match was awarded to Clayton Taylor. I would probably it's basically a hair between Adams, Bayliss, and Taylor. I probably just would have given it to Bayliss for his 2 goals. What about you?
Um, yeah, like it's a really tough one. Like I think Max Burgess played really well
Yeah,
as well, and just given the position on the field that he was playing, it's always underrated by these player ratings and the stats. So just the fact that he was able to break up so much play, he was so cool with the ball. He really showed that leadership role, like especially when things did get a little bit niggly, and Maroney went in on Bayliss, and like Burgess was there almost straight away just to sort it out and back him up. So I'm going to go actually Burgess as my man of the match.
no worries. Righto. Well, that leaves the Jets sitting pretty at the top of the table. Uh, Sydney FC and Sydney FC have a game in hand there. So
And they
we're on.
play two this week
Yeah.
actually.
Well, no,
So
two. They play one this week and then they play midweek. So yeah, they're playing away at Auckland on Saturday, and then they play home against Auckland on the 17th.
I th-
according to what FOTMob have got listed here.
for some reason, I thought they actually had a couple of home games.
Yeah, that's what I thought until I looked at
No, you're
this.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Away versus Auckland, and
yeah.
yeah,
There's something weird going on with our tipping. There's like two or three extra. There's like two extra matches sitting in our tipping. I think that's might have been where you got confused because it's
yeah, possibly.
yeah. But yeah, for some reason they're asking to. It's the game and they've got a extra game for Melbourne. They've got Melbourne playing twice. They got Melbourne playing Western Sydney and then playing away at Western Sydney and then home against Melbourne City on the same day, against Central Coast on the same day. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, so yeah, the table sees, like I said, sees the Jets 2 points ahead of Sydney FC, 27 points over 25. Auckland in third, 25, but with 3 less on the goal difference. Macarthur 24, Adelaide 23, Melbourne City 21, Brisbane 21, Melbourne Victory 20, Perth 19, Wellington 19, Central Coast 16, and Western Sydney 15. So yeah, the results from the weekend were Wellington and Melbourne City drew 2-2. Adelaide and Macarthur drew 1-1. We won 4-1 over Brisbane. Sydney beat Western Sydney in the derby 4-1. Perth beat Auckland, which was a bit of a turn up, 2-1. And also Central Coast beat Melbourne Victory, which was a bit of a turn up, 1-0. So getting into this weekend's game, which is obviously first of 2 away games, travelling over to Adelaide on Sunday at Cooper's Stadium, and yeah, like I said, they had a 1-1 draw with Macarthur. Just going to quickly duck into this match thing and see what their last couple of games were. What's their form? Where is it? Here we go. So yeah, they've had loss, 2 wins, 2 draws in their last 5, and obviously our last 5 are all wins. So their form's a bit inconsistent. They've gone off the boil since the beginning of the season, starting to they've sort of turned it around. The last loss was 5 games ago. They've had 2 draws and 2 wins since then, but yeah, not as consistent. But then again, like we keep saying, Matt, the table's really, really close. So it's, it doesn't take much to propel yourself further up the table with 1 or 2 wins. So yeah, sorry, Matt's just had to step away for a sec. So looking at the Adelaide United, sorry, Matt, I only just spotted that you had to jump off the call briefly, but you're back now.
Yeah, yes. Apologies, guys. I've
No,
got a vomiting 3-year-old at home, and my wife was calling me, so
we'll,
I
we'll,
thought I'd better
we'll,
quickly take it.
we'll get it wrapped up as quickly as possible. But yeah, so I was basically just saying that the Adelaide had been pretty inconsistent. They've had a loss, 2 draws and 2 wins in the last 5. They've gone off the boil a little bit, so hopefully it's something we can take advantage of.
Yeah, and at the start of the season, like I thought, well, the pundits were all saying that Adelaide weren't going to do well, but after 4 or 5 matches, I thought that I put them on the same sort of tier as Brisbane, as far as having a bit about them, but also bringing a really physical sort of side to the game. So it's interesting the way that the draws sort of played out, that we're not playing them until round 16 basically. But I think that they've they're a very sort of hot and cold team. Like that, just their form doesn't necessarily represent what you're going to see sort of week in, week out. So it'll be sort of interesting, I guess, to see how that game sort of plays out.
Looks like there's going to be a decent contingent of travelling fans going over there. Apparently, they've had to offer some extra tickets, so they reckon there's going to possibly be over 100 Jet supporters going to be travelling to Adelaide for this fixture, which is great. Now, having a look at Dave's fixture facts, again, going back to the forums. So overall, 65 fixtures between these two teams. We've met on 56 occasions in the A-League, 4 occasions in the Australia Cup, and on 2 occasions in the NSL, 3 occasions in the... Right, so overall, Jets wins 17, United Adelaide's wins 32, drawn 16. In Adelaide, we've played 35 matches. We've won 7 of those. United have won 18. There's been 10 draws. The last fixture was a home game in round 16 of last season where we beat them 2-1.
And if you're asking me for a tip, like officially, I still have to say Adelaide, only because I think that I'm the jinx that has caused this big change in fortune. I did work out though over the weekend, Ferns, that I can still bet on Newcastle.
Yeah, you just can't tip them.
As long as I tip the opposition, then it seems to be working right. So yeah, I'm gonna back Adelaide in the tipping comp.
So 2 of the fixture records have been set away to over in Adelaide. So the biggest Jets win was a 3-0 win away at Cooper Stadium, obviously. Match day 23 in the 1920 season. Goals from O'Donovan, Miller, and Ugarkovic. And the heaviest defeat, we all know which one it was. It was the 7-0. Way back in 2014-15, round 15. And the less said about that game, the better. But, mate, it's they've still got some really good players in there. Obviously, we know Ryan Kiddo and Craig Goodwin very well from being former Jets themselves. So, look, there's no reason why we wouldn't be going over there with, no real new injury worries or niggles, fingers crossed. We don't think, apparently, according to the last Herald article I read, Jimmy Gardner said that Zach Clough and Grozos will be travelling but won't be picked for this game, but may, for team cohesion, they're staying away. So they're travelling to Adelaide and then to Perth. They're not coming home and then going back. So Clough and Grozos will be travelling with the squad, but they're not going to be I've seen the squad lists were released today and they're not listed as being available for this game. But, the rest of the team is all good to go. Again, like I said, I don't see that there should be any reason why we wouldn't be going into this game confident that we couldn't make it 6 wins in a row. And that's usually the time when the rug gets pulled out from underneath us.
As long as we don't back the same team, Ferns, then one of us will be wrong instead of both of us being wrong.
Absolutely. So you're not tipping us to win, but you're going to be betting for us to win. Or is that skating the line?
Hoping, but I just, the only time I haven't, picked the Jets loss was I picked the Jets draw versus MacArthur, and we were very, very close to that Jets draw. But that just reaffirms that, the gods and karma just want me to be disappointed week in, week out. So I'm happy to take a loss on the tipping comp if it means that the ladder doesn't reflect that.
Where do you go? Final thought on this game? Does he change anything for the starting lineup, or does he keep going with the same one for the fourth game in a row?
I can't imagine that anything will change. There's barring injuries, everything seems to be clicking into place. When you've had a couple of sort of 4-1 results, on the trot, why would you?
It's all coming up Jets at the moment. So, I'm definitely going to be tipping us, and Matt won't be for reasons. What are your thoughts, everybody? Hopefully you're all confident that we can continue this run, or even if we don't win and go over there with the draw, that's still going to be a good result for us, yes?
Yeah, it would be. Even if it's a competitive loss and it's another, 4-3 loss or 5-4 loss, and we still keep scoring goals, I think that's the main thing, is that as long as we keep scoring, it's going to put the rest of the competition on notice that they can't relax whenever they play against the Jets. That Jets are going to score, doesn't matter what they do. It's just more a matter of whether or not they can contain them enough, or whether they can exploit mistakes that we make. So yeah, I think that the run of form that we've been having, over even if you count the loss over the last 6 weeks, is enough to, you know, and playing away from home. I think that typically teams will go out and try and be a little bit more attacking in front of their home crowd. It's just whether or not you can afford to against this Jets team.
Righto. So we'll quickly cover off the rest of the games in round 16 and then wrap it up. So Friday, which is going to be the day you're going to receive this podcast in your ears, is the first game is a 5 p.m. kickoff, Wellington hosting Melbourne Victory.
I've got to go Victory. I think on that one, Wellington have been a little bit stop-start. Melbourne were, I think even at one stage sitting at bottom of the table, but they're certainly on a bit of a run at the moment. I know they lost last week. Actually, looking at the stats now, they've lost 3 out of the last 5. But I've still got to go Melbourne. I just think that they're starting to click a little bit. I'll be very disappointed if we have to play them in the semis.
Yeah, definitely. I'm picking a draw in this one. So the second game is Macarthur hosting Perth Glory, 7:35 p.m. kickoff. I am going for a Glory win in this, actually.
I'm going to have to go Macarthur. They've continued, I guess, their sort of goal scoring form, and it's a home game for them. Like Macarthur.
Righto, and 3 games on Saturday. Auckland have the first one hosting Sydney FC before they've got to play them the following week. So it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. What did I pick with this one? I picked a draw in this one too.
I'm actually going to go Sydney, only because that'd be the worst result for us. So if I back it, then it's less likely to happen. I'm sitting on about 20% of my picks are successful at the moment. So yeah, if I back Sydney, then we've got more chance to stay on top of the table.
Yep, I went the other way. I thought that a draw in this game would be best for us, so that's why I've picked that one. Second game is the Raw hosting Central Coast at 5 p.m. Even with Mariners winning last week, I'm going to pick Brisbane in this one.
I'm also going Brisbane. I'm pretty sure they'll just kick the shit out of them.
They get back to what works. And the last game is Western Sydney hosting Melbourne City, 7:35 p.m. kickoff from Combank. I have picked Melbourne in this one.
I'm also going Melbourne. I think the GVE effect is,
worn off.
By this stage, well and truly worn off. He's still working with the squad that he's got. It'll be interesting if they. I've heard a couple of potential rumours for extra signings, but we're out of the transfer window now, as far as I know. So,
Yep.
I don't know, he's brought in a couple. There's got to be a little bit more goodwill. Given they actually won a couple of weeks ago, but then to sort of fall back off again last week. It was that against kind of rumor now. They did lose last week, I think. Oh yeah,
They
got
lost the
smashed
derby.
in the derby.
Yeah,
they got smashed. So against Sydney team that hasn't been playing particularly well without Lolly. I'll go City.
Right. And just to clarify, I'm pretty sure the transfer window in the A League is mid-January to mid-February. So I think it's still got another week.
Oh, there's still that possibility. They were talking about Farrell, I think, coming back.
Yep.
The ex-Central Coast.
Yep. Yeah,
fullback.
another one. Yeah, I don't think he's getting picked.
Who knows? But
Wherever he's playing.
He's a handy player if they can manage to sign him.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to keep up with all the stuff going on, promote a different podcast, which is the Aussie game. Those guys do a really good podcast that covers off all of the overseas Australian players, as well as a little bit of A-League talk as well. But just to finish this episode off, get you out of here as quickly as possible, mate. A little bit of news creeping around with obviously the Jets doing so well. It's attracting the attentions of some agents and scouts looking at our players. Couple of rumours as to who they've been looking at, and the possibility of losing a couple is, obviously it gets higher the better we do, and we saw it in previous seasons where we've been successful. We've lost a bunch of, well, we haven't always lost heaps, but it would be good to, hopefully for this time around, that the club would be trying to get something in place to not lose these players for free, or at least not to other A-League clubs, because there has been some talk of some other A-League clubs being interested in our players. And yeah, unless they're going overseas, I don't want to see them playing at another Australian club unless
I don't
they're
want to see him
shit and we
going
don't want them.
overseas, even like with the way we're going and the possibility of ACL1.
Yeah.
That's got to be at least a little bit of a carrot that we can dangle out there, that, whatever they're worth now with another good season under their belt and, a good showing in that competition, they've got to be worth 10 times that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a hurdle that the league's always going to face, that, we're not the highest paying competition by any means, even in the, like the Asian district. Yeah, like hopefully the growth that they're seeing as players sort of outweighs maybe the short-term gain that they're seeing from, going overseas. But by the same token, you can't really begrudge, any of these guys, the opportunity to make hay while the sun shines, and, make the most out of their very, limited time that they're going to be, full-time professional footballers.
Yeah, which is unfortunately probably going to happen to some of the squad anyway, because we do have quite a few players off contract at the end of the season. So, yeah, look, it'd be nice if we could get some of them locked down in lockdown with extensions, so that we're able to get transfer fees in for them. But I haven't heard any talk of discussions happening with players to extend contracts. I think a lot of people are just sitting back and waiting to see what happens. So it's possibly going to happen that we're going to lose a bunch of players, but I think we're probably a little bit more satisfied this time around that we're going to be able to recover from that.
You would hope so, and like we're certainly in a better position to, as far as retaining players goes, given the current salary cap constraints that's now affecting everyone, and not just, the bottom 4 or 5 teams in the competition, and, our position on the table, and the, potential for extra exposure, like I mentioned, as
Yeah.
far as, Asian, Champions League. We've already locked in the ACL2 for next year, so, a couple of good games in even in the ACL2 could, skyrocket their potential value.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just that, also wanting to come and play under Mark would be a big carrot as well. Like, you be able to attract players from other teams rather than, having to make do with players that are unwanted, and, actually be a viable option if players. It's happened plenty of times, and we were able to pick up players that were diamonds in the rough. That's how we ended up with Battleado and Eli and all these players. We've taken them off other teams where they haven't performed, and we've turned their form around. Now they're looking like really hot prospects. So hopefully,
Taylor, Rose,
yep,
but
Bayless.
And the only saving grace that I see is that we've been able to blood so many young players and start to get a few games into them, like Bert Alicio, for example.
Yeah, Bertoncello,
That
Dobson,
even
Nunez.
even if we are to lose a couple, I think that whoever sort of steps up isn't going to be stepping up on debut. They're going to be stepping up as far as being part of a successful squad from the year before.
Absolutely. Right. I think that's a good place to end it. So, mate, thanks very much for jumping on and joining in. And yeah, fingers crossed for a good outing on the weekend.
Appreciate your time again, Furns. thank you for having me. Thanks for hosting all this. Support the forums and come on the Jets.
Yeah, well, it certainly makes it much more an enjoyable experience when we're winning rather than the hard slog it's been over the last couple of seasons.
I think I joined the podcast the year after the grand final.
After
So yeah,
2018.
has been a really, really hard slog over
Yeah.
the last couple of years. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. You definitely makes you appreciate the good times having been through all that. Right, thanks everybody for listening. Some really good social media traffic on the weekend with everybody looking at Jet stuff. So hopefully there's going to be a bit of an uptick in subscribers and listeners. Feel free to share these episodes on your socials to help spread the word. We're not the only podcast in town, but we are the longest running and we are Jets focused. So please spread the word and see if we can get a few more people listening and subscribing. If you want to check out the links, get along to NewcastleFootball.net for all the subscription links, old video packages and all that sort of stuff. And like I said, we're going to be looking at upgrading some things over the next couple of weeks and months. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Until if you want to get in contact with us, please send us a DM on any of the socials. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube. Or if you want to drop us an email, it's podcast@newcastlefootball.net. And what I was planning to say before was, until next time, Vamos El Jerkos.
Come on, the Jets.
Come on, you top of the league Jets. Yeah, it certainly makes it much more interesting or fun to do when it's a period of some success.
100%.